talk about, and you kind of set the groundwork for what you want to do. Most people have a wrong idea of what improvisation is. Improvisation is spontaneous.
What's up, Worcester? This is Jackie from Women Strong Recovery and Wellness Coaching, and we are here with our fourth episode of Crossroad Conversations. And I'm really excited about this conversation. I feel like I'm probably going to say that every time, but the people that I'm bringing on are, not only dear to my heart, but like their story and what they've been through and just the pure, authentic person they are is like everything, so to bring that here, I'm just grateful and honored. And I'm here with Ivette Monge. And, this person for me has been a mentor, has been a big sister, has been a shoulder to cry on, has led me to God, has shown me the way to walk in recovery with honor, dignity, and strength as a woman, as a mother, as a sister, and a daughter. So I'm really excited, and I hope that you can really get something out of this conversation as we just walk through what were her crossroads, right? So welcome.
Wow, thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. It really is an honor, another humbling moment for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So we're gonna get to it.
Yes.
I really want to know what it is you're doing right now. And then we'll kind of go backwards from there and see what that looks like. And we'll do this little back and forth and
Okay.
just see what we can get from this conversation.
Okay, so right now is basically I am walking into rooms that even a few years ago, I never thought I was worthy enough to walk in rooms, right? And when I walk in the rooms now, I leave the door open behind me so more Latina women can walk in.
So let me ask you a
Before
question.
me.
You're
Say
saying
it
you're
again.
opening these doors, right? What doors are you opening? What does that look like? You mentioned Latinas and you seem to have a lot of pride in that and it like lights you up. So what does that mean to you in this way?
So it means a lot because, being a Latina woman, and I love everyone. Diversity is me. I'm diversity. But when I say Latina, it's because I think about like so many doors are shut on us, right? Like we're never seen that we have all this potential, and we do. It makes me think of my mother, a mother of 5 that was stuck in GBV with 5 children on the system. They never try to help her and say, hey, do you want to try to get a job? I don't remember my mom trying to get services besides just keeping her home on food stamps and taking care of 5 children. Like, they didn't help them, like, go to the next level, or hey, do you want to go back to school? And and even growing up, I went from one project to another, and so like I'm here to let you know that as a Latina woman, there is so much potential. There's potential in everybody, but the ones that are suppressed like us, we could rise above, and we could rise above not alone, but together. And right now, like I work for RIA, so there's diversity is big there too. But I'm just showing them that you can do anything you put your mind to, and it doesn't matter where you have come from or what you have done, because a lot of us get stuck in that place. Oh, I have a Corey, or I've done all this, and then shame and guilt just kicks in and keeps you bounded. And no, you're meant for more. We are a flower that blossoms, right? And even if you're rooted in that foundation, we're gonna crack through that foundation.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna come out of that foundation alone. It's us, the community, that like help each other just grow into this amazing, beautiful rose.
That reminds me of when I was in high school. My high school teacher gave me a book, and it's The Rose That Grew Through Concrete. And so I see that as a part of like this story of like, what does it look like when you're handed down this narrative of only being in this particular place, and you're only granted this particular education, and you're only granted this particular, surroundings. And so how has it looked for you to break through to that? Like, where was your breaking point of like, no, I'm not gonna, grow up in the projects, and I think that I deserve some education. And what is your title now? And I know you've had a couple career changes, but what is it that you do now? And then what has that journey looked like of breaking free from that? Like, I'm not just gonna stay in this one place.
Yeah. So, when I was in high school, I went through a lot of addiction. And after high school, my life was just downhill. And it wasn't until, honestly, I went to prison. It wasn't until I went to prison that I started attending church services, and I started attending the AA meetings and NA meetings that they will bring to MCA Framingham at the time, and people speaking life into me, right? And then when I got out of there, I went into a women's program, and they were helping me to do things to better myself. Before I went in, I was a paralegal by trade, and I say that because I was a paralegal. I did a 12 intense week course, and I became a paralegal and worked in the field. But I relapsed, so I was on the other side. So I had the education in me. I knew I was smart. I can do this. I just needed somebody else to believe with me, and that's what the Faith House did for me. My clinician, the women that were around me, and my sponsor at that time, Jane, and she's still in my life today. And it's women like that picked me up, and I lived in their back pocket. And she nourished me with love. She didn't nourish me with things, because I know how to fill my voids with material things, but she nourished me with love. She nourished me with picking me up, and knowing that if she was going to say she was going to be there at 5, she was going to be there at 5. And I just kept showing up because she kept showing up. And because of that, I kept putting one foot in front of another. It wasn't easy, but I knew I wanted more. I knew that there was more for me out there than where I was. And I was tired. By now, I have 4 daughters that, needed me, and I had been away from their lives. And I wanted to be that mother, and I just kept pushing one foot in front of another. And I did. And today, like, I have 15 years. And I only say this because if you know me, you know my story. And it wasn't easy getting here, but I remain on that path. I remain on putting one foot in front of another, and trusting in the God that I found out from me while I was in Framingham, and just letting him lead the way, and me moving myself away because I thought I had all the answers, and I didn't. I parted myself from everything I thought I knew, and I just let other people love onto me, lead the way, and trust in God.
Yeah. So when you're talking about being an MCI, I feel like I've never been personally into a jail setting like that, Um, so I'm thinking that in order for you to start to take in the programming that they actually have, I think you have experience with, like, just going in and out, in and out.
Yes.
And then that pivotal moment of like, hold on, I'm gonna take advantage of the program in here. What did that look like for you? Because that could, I'm sure, like, as you're sitting in front of us, that had to shift your entire way of going in and out of the system.
Yes. So I was going in and out of the system. I would call it I go in for, I don't know, a weekend or a week. My stays were short, and I just didn't take it serious, and it gave me a place to sleep, right? And food in my stomach for a few days or a week or two. But it wasn't until the judge was like, nope, you're going in for a year. And I had nowhere to go. I couldn't leave. And they did me a favor because I couldn't do it on my own, because I kept getting in my own way. They talk about, I remember going into my first meeting, and they were like, all you have to do is not use, ask for help, and get a sponsor. God, that sounds so easy to do, right? I mean, to me, it sounded so easy. But when I really had to do it, I was trying to do it my way and it just didn't work. So going back, like, you know, being in prison for a year helped me so much. I'm actually could say this today. I am so grateful for that judge that said, you need time away from the world, Yvette. And, you know, this is where life is really going to begin for you.
So that was your first time doing like an extended amount of time in jail.
Yes.
And that was your last time going back for that extended. So using, which I think, you know, such a God moment of like, did you even realize that they had programming like that if you were just in and out kind of?
No, I didn't. I didn't know. Because I never made it into population. I will always stay in like the clinical setting, like in the I don't even remember the name, but anyway, yeah, they'll just keep me in the medical unit.
Okay.
And but then when I got put into population, I was like, this is not for me. You know, I can't do this again. I cannot do this. And there's moments in my life that were pivoted. Like one night, I remember being brought from into population, and I was so hungry, and I had, you know, at this point I had burned all my bridges, and my roommate had threw away an apple, a core of an apple, and I was so hungry, right? That I waited for her to go to bed, and I picked that apple out of that trash can, and the trash can in my room was rusty. It was rusty, but I was just so hungry, and I took it out and I started sucking on the juice of that apple that had been thrown in that trash bin. So these are the moments for me that I will never forget. I don't want to forget. And just sitting there crying, hungry, and saying, this is not life. But I had to go through those moments, I truly believe, to get to where I'm at today.
Yeah. And so going through, I'm thinking, you know, sitting in the cold cell, right? Eating this apple. What was that feeling? Like, can you try to explain that feeling? Is I feel like that's like another level of like hopelessness or hope of like, okay, this is not where I want to be.
It was hopelessness. Again, I was so sick also from detoxing. Angry because I had been in there already, and I said I wasn't coming back, right? Angry, hopeless, very scared, and thinking, because I thought this is going to be my life for the rest of my life. This is just how I'm going to end. This is how I'm going to die. Not that I was going to kill myself there, but this, you know, I had been in and out. I couldn't just get it. I couldn't get it. But because I couldn't get out of my own way.
So what does it start to look like as you gain more days and weeks and months inside? What is that thought process that starts to change? That moment that you're like, all right, I'm gonna, because I know for me, I'm like, when I came out to Worcester and had those little moments, I was just like, I'm just gonna do whatever they tell me to. I'm gonna stop thinking I know better, because obviously if I'm ending up in detox again for the second time in however months, like maybe I don't know. So what does that start to look like? Who are you starting to like lean on in those moments?
So I gotta say, like when I started, I was in my room a lot. So I'm like, I can't continue to do this because felt like I was going crazy. I had a lot of mental stuff going on. You know, you don't have your best friend anymore, which was alcohol and drugs. You're sitting in these raw feelings, on top of everything else, being scared and all that. So, you know, I started attending church service, and it started feeling better. And then I started coming out to the area to, you know, just talk to other girls. And I started going out to the meetings when they will come, and these women were like telling me like, I too was here where you are, and you don't need to repeat this cycle. This could be your last time here. And I remember listening to that before, and I was like, this is my last time, but obviously it wasn't, right? So this time around, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't. And I just like, I remember going in my room, and I remember I never wanted to get on my knees because God forbid if my roommate would see me on my knees and how embarrassing, but all right, we'll skip that. And I threw myself on the floor and I was just like, God, I can't do this no more on my own. You have to help me. Like, I'm just going to do whatever they say. So I went by the schedule. Every time they were there, I knew when AA was coming. I knew when NA was coming. I was there. I made sure I signed up for church service every Sunday. I sat in the front. Like I did all those things. And I'm like, and I started feeling better. And then, I knew I was going to go to a house, and I was willing to go anywhere. Like, I think that was my desperate moment for me where I'm like, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do. Wherever you want me to go. If it doesn't have to be in Worcester, don't let it be.
Yeah.
Wherever you want me to go, I'll go.
And where did you end up?
I ended up at Faith House.
Okay. Which was in Worcester.
Which is in Worcester.
So then how did that feel, thinking like, even if I have to remove myself from Worcester, maybe that was the best thing or wasn't, but what did that look like for you and your family? Because I'm sure maybe there was some apprehension.
Yeah.
With them.
Yeah. So yeah, because my family tried to send me to Puerto Rico, to the mountains. They tried to send me everywhere, and I would just end up right back in Worcester doing the same thing. But my family did want me out of Worcester, and me too. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's best if I leave Worcester. Like, yeah, sign me up, to go to Boston or wherever. But the bed opened. It was scary when I got to Worcester, and I'm like, but you know what? This is it. I was really so desperate at that moment. And not that I wasn't before, but there was something different this time. And this time there was, I had a glimpse of hope. Like, I'm like, I was listening to these ladies, they were showing up, and I too can do this. And I just came up with that. My father flew in from Puerto Rico. I remember I didn't have any visits in prison. And then my father flew up and from Puerto Rico, and then my sister came up. And I'm like, I really haven't lost it all. And just seeing my dad there, I was like, I haven't lost it all, and then when I got to Faith House and I got my first visit, my daughter was very young. My youngest must have been like, she was young at that time. I was like, this is, just seeing that light in their eyes, and I'm like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
I need to do this, but I need to do this for me because I've always did it for everybody else.
What do you think they saw in you?
I would hope they will see, like, my mom's not giving up. She's back. And hopefully she's going to stay out. Because my oldest used to be like telling my mom to put chains on my door when I used to live with my mom with my oldest. She was like, Mom, Grandma put chains on Mom's door so she doesn't leave at night. And so I'm hoping that, when they did see me, they said, she's going to get it this time.
Yeah. That's bringing me back to, so I was in the halfway house, almost 11 years now. And, you were one of the first women to, like, I remember seeing you, and this will probably be like, don't do this if you're in a halfway house. But I remember being like, they had rules that you had to like, be like, oh, the sponsor, like you got to get a sponsor. And I remember you saying like, well, I can't be a sponsor, but I'll be, and I think I told the house, I was like, she's my sponsor. Because I was like, I need to get out of this house. I don't recommend that. But you were the first person to like pick me up in that halfway house and to bring me to meetings and bring me around your family. I didn't know anyone. And I remember being like, wow, if she could get her family back, if she could get her daughters back, then there's hope for me to get my son back, and that was pivotal. That was so important because I needed to see other women that lost things and got them back.
Yes.
Because that gave me hope that it was for me too, right? And so that was, such a gift. to have someone willing to like go out of their way when you had your whole family and your kids and you were building still, to go out of your way to come and you know, pick me up from a halfway house and bring me to meetings and bring me around your kids. And so what does that, you know, look like as you move out of the halfway house and you start to rebuild? How is that shape, like what is going on? How are you shaping that for yourself and getting back into society?
Well, the reason I was able to shape that was because it was shaped for me. It was shaped for me through Jane. You know, when Jane was coming, I would go to Jane's house. I met Jane's daughter. I worked for her father's company. Like they trusted me to go work at a company, right? To put me behind a desk and truly have faith in me that I would show up. And you know, so you know, everything that she was doing for me, I was just like, I will do this for somebody else, you know. And I remember even early in sobriety, like, you know, you always help out a few girls too, even though you're early in sobriety, and that feeling of helping that next person out, because you remember where you was, you remember how you felt, you know, because our circumstances might be different, but all our feelings are the same. You know, I remember that hopelessness. I remember that anger. I remember just like, why did you do this again? Why did you do this to your family again? You know? So just took all that Jane sewed into me. And I'm like, now I'm giving it back because I want you to feel what I'm feeling, because now I'm really seeing hope, right? Now I'm seeing like I'm staying clean. I'm starting to get my family back little by little, you know? Like now I was angry in a good way. I was like, devil, not again, not now, because I see you, right? And but I had to stay grounded. You know, I had to stay grounded. I was getting my kids back. Everything was moving so fast and it's kind of overwhelming. And I was kind of having this conversation, is so grateful for so many things that are happening, but you have to stay grounded and stay focused, right? So I stood focused with, you know, I still met with Jane, and then I still kept going to meetings. You know, I did the right thing. I knew better than if I'm at a family event and they're drinking, when that, you know, beer starts looking really, you start looking good, it's time to go. And I learned those moments. I learned it's okay to get up and leave. You know, even though they might be mad or not understand. What do you mean you're leaving a party? Like you shouldn't. But yes, you could, because you have to do this for you, you know? So I was able to just take that love and that adrenaline and just give it to somebody else. And the feeling is just phenomenal. There's no, I can't even describe that feeling, you know, just, and I remember seeing you at that chair, and it's not like I would bring girls over, and it's not to show off what you got, because I could lose that in a heartbeat, but it's to show the next person that you too can do this. And, you know, don't compare, because my story was different than yours. My walk was different, but we all end up at the same place. So just showing them that you too can do it was very profound to me. Like, you know, and loving them where they're at. You know.
And like I said, and I have personal experience. I've been the recipient of that pour back, you know, and like been able to do that, because again, it is such and it's not like you can go to just anyone and, you know, explain, because you feel so much shame, so much guilt already for like not having your child, for being in the position that you are, for not having the things that you think you should have at that moment, you know, and especially when you've had things and you lost them and or gave them away, you know, it's moments like that where, you know, it's like, I don't think I would have necessarily thought it then, like, oh, it's such a God moment. Like, God has literally positioned you in this place. It's at the exact time that made such a difference, again, in my life, and shifted what I was doing in that house because you had that personal experience and you were willing to share it,
Yeah.
right? So as you're moving along, you start to gain things back. You're working,
Mhm.
you're essentially, right, this member of society doing right by
Yes.
people. And you're shaping, what the narrative is for you and your family, right? You're rewriting that story, essentially, right?
Yes.
Um, what does it look like when, you get 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years, and do you continue with your recovery? Does it start to shift? What does that start to look like as your life gets busier? We know when kids get older, it does not stop. It gets busier.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's no slowdown. I feel like, it's like you think like, oh, we'll get out of this stage and
No.
there's another stage. We'll get out of this stage. There's another stage. So what does that start to look like as you rebuild your family and you start to, work on those relationships and what that looks like for your family as a whole, and they start to really see Ivette really changing, like, but like a sense of like she's not just changing, this is a different person that's presenting. What does that start to look like? How do you start to like navigate that?
Yeah, so one thing I do got to say that they used to see me change when I would get 3 or 4 months, but this time was different because now they're seeing me change, but I'm continuing to walk. I'm continuing to show up. They're not, they know that I'm gonna be home. So as the years are coming along, I want to say that it got easier, but there was a point where it wasn't easy because now, like, I'm working on myself. I'm doing the steps for me, and I'm working on self every day. But then too, I got 4 daughters that I left behind. 2 of them were young. One of them had to take care of her little sister. So there's resentments, there's hurt, and it's not for me to heal them, right? But I had to. There was a lot of times where, perfect example, one of my daughters, I had to leave to go help somebody, bring them to a meeting. And she was like, okay, Mrs. Captain Save-A-Hole, because, I'm sorry if I couldn't say, because I had to take time away from her, but she wasn't understanding when I know she was still angry because I had left her, that I had to stop doing whatever to go help this other person. But I was going to come back for you. I was going to come back for my daughter, right? So it was moments like that I had, a lot of moments like that I had to just like, swallow it and try to talk to them and offer like, we should probably do therapy. My daughters didn't want to. So there was a lot of hard moments. I got to say that me continuing to go to meetings and just showing up. And when I tell my daughters I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. Um, you know, they're trusting me. They started confiding in me, and I showed you I'm not the person that I was. And that's all I could do, right? But it wasn't until I started getting on my knees and really asking God to work in their hearts. Because he's the only one that was able to work in their hearts. I can't do anything anymore. The damage is done. Yeah. But I would not allow myself to stay stuck there with them, and they didn't. Thanks God they didn't. But it was not easy. But every year, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, the time will come up and I'm like, oh my God, what is 5 years? Oh my God, 6 years. Like, it's just such an amazing feeling, even though years were hard, right? Yeah. But they were hard, but because of how I went through, how I did things while I was going through them made them easier, if that makes any sense. Like, in prayer, I have many people, like I had you, like, you don't even know how much you helped me, but that's a story for another day. But, and then I started sponsoring people. And then Erin, like, these girls that I was sponsoring became my sponsors. When I needed something, they would show up at my house. Like, it's community, and I just kept doing that. And the years just kept building up. And, I know I didn't want to use. I know I'm not going to get high. And I just got closer to more people, helped out more people because that's just what I love.
Yeah. You mentioned community, and so we know you're like a real boots on the ground. You go out there and you are showing up, and what does that look like, and what has that done for you? And this way of like, I'm going back essentially to who you used to be.
Mhm.
Give us a little insight into that. What does it look like when you're like boots on the ground?
Yeah, boots on the ground. Listen, I remember saying one time, I'm turning my pain into purpose.
Mm.
And that's what I do today. I show up, doesn't matter, you know, if I'm driving down Main Street, I'm gonna park my car. Even if you beep at me, I gotta stop and help this girl. I need to even let her know that just for right now, it's okay. If I gotta give her my phone number, I will. Um, you know, if you see my car, you know it's me because it's always full of stuff in the back seat. It's the only car in the house that I'm able to use because my husband has a car, but I can't use his truck. But it's those things, you know, that just showing somebody that I don't need to know you to love you, because you know, I've worked on myself enough that I can tell you I love you and show you I love you just with little things, you know. And the girls that are out there, you know, that me showing up with a book bag or just a hamburger, or me showing up every week or every few days, because you know now I'm just not in Worcester. I'm in Framingham. I'm in Boston. I'm in wherever I go. You know, Springfield. I'm everywhere. But just showing the love with the little things, man, that is like the most rewarding thing I could get.
Yeah.
It's such a rewarding thing for me.
So what is the work you do now?
So right now I'm with Rhea. I'm their operations and outreach manager. We're a nonprofit that helps adults in trafficking, whether, you know, prostitution, and we help them, giving them services, peer mentorship and therapy. We offer groups, we offer rental assistance if they've been with RIA for some time. So it's like stability, right? We bring them on, we walk alongside with them. We don't tell them what to do. We're not here rescuing nobody. We're just showing you that we did it, you can do it too, right? And we walk alongside them and just show them that you can do this. And I know, like, every interview that I get, I say this, but you can.
Yeah.
You can do this. You know, you are a woman of honor and dignity.
Yeah.
And I say that, people knowing that I have been on Oria Street for nights and days, but I say that and I believe it in my core that we are women of honor and dignity, you know, and I just show up and it doesn't matter. Like, my new thing now is my eye gets all big every time the snow hits it. I don't know why, but you know what? I'm still gonna show up with a big eye. You know, I won't stop this work because this is my calling.
Yeah.
And I know what it did for me, having somebody that, even though they didn't do the exact same things I did, but they understood what I was going through because of my addiction or whatever else I was doing, and led the way with love and no judgment. And that's how I lead the way too. I don't try to lead like that. I lead without judging and loving you where you're at.
How did you get into this work particular? Because I know you worked for Jane's company, Jane's father's company for many years, and you had an important crossroad transition in that, right? And how did that look? What did it look like from going from there to this new work? And really, because you've been boots on the ground for years since you started, so you already had that in you, but what did that look like?
So I gotta say, it was a little hard because, you know, after a few years, like, I was kind of comfortable. Like, you know, if we put a word on it, I was comfortable. I was showing up 9 to 5, had my vacations. You know, by this time I had my family. I had remarried. I got my daughters back, and now I got grandchildren. Like, you know, it was a blessing from all around. And and still doing the work on the side. And I never thought I could do this full time because I'm like, this is not easy work, you know. And I was comfortable. I was okay doing it after work on the weekends, you know, showing up with sandwiches and water in my car. Every time I stopped at a stoplight, I was okay with that. But I knew the need was greater. I could just see it. And, you know, I had my cousin Tiffany was bored of Rhea, and she said, Ivette, you know, you would be so good at this. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this full time. When if you think about it, I'm doing it all the time anyway. So so I did the interview, and you know, God opened that door for me, and I wouldn't change it. You know, even though it I was doing, I knew you know, I'm helping girls out. I knew what it is. I've been in the life. But I was like, I couldn't do this full time, and I could, and I'm so glad I did because the need is great, and you know, if I could just help one person out, and I help out more than that, but my thing is I could help one person a day, you know, it's one less.
What were your particular like fears of transitioning from a job that, you know, you got comfortable in, that you knew that, you know, you had a certain security in, and then transitioning? What were those fears and how did you overcome them? What did you do to like navigate that? You know, your brain telling you one thing, your body might tell you another. You know, we have these conversations that go back and forth with ourselves, right?
Yes.
What did that look like for you? How did you start to navigate that and like, you know, own
You know,
your position?
even though like people will see this Yvette, like she's so confident, she's helping everybody, but the tug of wars that I had in my brain when I applied for the job, I'm like, just looking at the title, like operations outreach manager, like, bro, that sounds really bougie, right? I was fine being the manager of what we were making because I was taking care of an area in the company I was working. But like all these titles, I'm like, oh Lord, like I don't think I could do all that. And you're reading at, you know, all the descriptions of the job. And I'm like, so I had a conversation with Tiffany and she was like, you're doing all that, Yvette. You're doing all that like in a different way. And it wasn't until I sat down with her and she started, you know, showing me like, Yvette, you're doing all this. And I was letting fear get in the way because I was comfortable, right? And I'm like, I'll be doing this full time. I don't want to get burnt out because you could relapse and all this stuff is going through my mind. But I was just like jumping ahead too, right? And I think my most fearful thing was working, you know, meeting women, you know, under the influence on a daily basis, and me being scared that I would relapse or something. I think that was, to be honest, my number one huge fear that got me like, no, I can't do this. Whether the money's good or not, like I can't. But it took some talking with people like you and Tiffany, and they, you know, were like, Yvette, you could do this, and this is what you do, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know? I was focusing on the wrong things. I wasn't focusing on the whole picture. I was focusing on just my vision was being narrowed, and I had to change that. And I'm grateful for the woman in my life that helped me, you know. So
Make that transition.
yeah, make that transition, and it was the best thing that I could have done. The best thing I could have done because I help out so much more people. I have more time, you know, to help people, and not in Worcester. Like I'm all over Mass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're out, right, and you're doing, and I keep going back, you know, to that boots on the ground and that, because I think that really is like such a pivotal moment in someone else's life that feels so hopeless, so alone, and just in a space of like, do I even want to be here? Right? Do I even want to, is it even worth it? Like going on another day? What does it look like for you to speak life into them and to like just give them that sandwich or give them, you know, go get, I know you're on the curb, like having a coffee with them and like, you know, What is that? Like, what do you see in their eyes when you're there? Do you see yourself?
I do see myself. I do see myself. And, I'm not going to sit there and tell you how sad you look.
Mm.
I'm not going to sit there and say, listen, let's try to get your hands clean.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm going to sit there with you. I'm going to look you in the eye. I'm going to hug you.
Mm.
That's one of the first things. And, I'm learning to set boundaries with that because I have to, but
Just ask.
just ask,
Okay.
Ivette. Yeah, I'm learning that. I learned that not so long ago. So just asking, because some people have been through so much that when you hug, they're afraid. And then I had somebody like leave, and I'm like, I was devastated all day. I couldn't sleep. So just asking and just looking them in the eye and just sitting it with them, even if I don't have to speak. I remember sitting down with a girl in the corner of it doesn't matter, Dunkin's. And the sidewalk we were on, there's cars coming. So it was kind of dangerous, but I wasn't thinking about nobody. My thought is, I'm here with you.
Mm.
And I want you to know that I'm here with you. I don't even need to say anything. Because a lot of times you don't need anybody to say anything. You just need to show up. Like I show up a lot to the same places. Like, there's always like Main Street in a lot of towns. There's always that same Oriat Street in different towns. And I just show up. And so going back to the Dunkin' Donuts, I remember putting my phone number because her pimp was across the street. And I knew that from the prior time that I met with her. And she was so happy to see me, but she didn't smile. I just see the light in her eyes, right? And I put my phone number under the cup of the Dunkin' Donuts cup I gave her. Because I know after that, she will drink that cup and use that cup to get money. Because he's across the street. She didn't have to throw that cup away.
Yeah.
So, I see the pain in their eyes, but I want them to see the light in my eyes. I just want to be the light. I am nobody. I'm just Ivette. I don't care about titles or none of that. Like, I just want you to know that I'm Ivette and that I walked in your shoes.
Yeah.
We might have not done the same things. 99% of the times we have, the people that I meet, but I know what you're feeling. I know the hopelessness, but I also know there's life. I also know there's a way. I also know. And when you're ready, I'm here.
Yeah.
So for right now, have this cup of coffee and warmth your heart, because I know her heart is being warmed. I know I'm planting that seed, which then I got to come back and water little by little.
And that's special. Like, that takes a special person to be able to get down to someone's level and remember where you've been, remember that feeling, but also not take away from the work that you've done. And so you can continue to pour into someone. And I just feel like, there is no titles, because the only place that could possibly come from is God.
That's right.
Only Him. And I say that because I know I had, in 2024, I've talked about a couple times with like my mom, and like I had such a rock bottom in my recovery. And I was in Guatemala a couple months ago living like the sweet life, like sun and like fresh fruit and coconuts. And I remember calling you in Guatemala, and I've said, God keeps putting you on my heart, putting you on my heart. And like we're having conversations, and I get back and my whole life falls apart. And the only person I knew to call was you, and you are just that, like, that light that you're like it. We hadn't talked for like, it's not that we would see each other and we would do things like show up to commitments for each other and stuff like that, but we didn't have like a really close everyday relationship at that point. We were just both doing our thing in our recovery, and just so I think admired both each other.
Yes.
And so when I came to you and all you was like, come to church, and I was like, it's not, I don't know if that's what I wanted, but that was such a pivotal moment, crossroad moment for me, and changed the trajectory of the entire way that I think I moved through my situation, right?
Yes.
And so that was because you have this, you don't have to have a title. You don't have to be, this, whatever it is in boast or anything, but you carry God's work in you. And you're not afraid to give that to someone else. And that's changed lives. And so for you being able to do that, what gives you that permission, like that like wholeheartedly, like, I'm not swaying from this?
Yeah.
Like,
so I have to say that, I don't push God on nobody. However, I'm going to tell you what works for me.
Yeah.
And what works for me might not work for you, but you know what? Let's try it. Because, it's like recovery. If it doesn't work for you, misery is always out there. Yeah. So for me, God was the one that did everything for me, right? And it wasn't the God that I grew up with. Because the God I grew up with, my mom told me I was going to hell at a young age because I was such a wild child. And, we grew up Catholic. But it wasn't about that. So when I learned who the God that I serve now, it's a relationship God. It's not a religion. So I'm going to start there. And then the second thing that I want to share on that note is when I was out there, and actually I'm wearing the shirt that one of my sisters in Christ made me, because she does podcasts, and it says, "Do not let the devil keep you in the trunk when God opened up the trunk for you to be free." And Jesus is in the middle. And when there was four girls that were found dead in Marlboro years ago, right? There were girls from the streets from Worcester. They found them dead. I was out there. Those were my friends, right? One day I was picked up. I was put in a car. Right before he hit 290 on Hope Ave, the trunk opened. Let me tell you, at that moment, I didn't think it was God.
yeah.
It wasn't until I sat with myself and was just like, these moments, right? Like these little lights. I'm like, but I know today for sure, that it was God. And this, every time I share my story, this is my message in my story. Yeah. That trunk opened. I was able to get out. And I know it wasn't the guy who hit the trunk, the lever to open the trunk right before he hit 290. Yeah. And this is when the girls were found in Marlboro. So I truly believe I was that number 5 or 6. I can't really remember right now. And man, their souls rest in peace, and he did it for me. So I'm going to tell you what he did for me. Yeah. And we could try him. And we could try him at your pace. I just love my God, and I could talk about him all day long. And I'm still like, listen, this is me, Jean's crazy funny, but my God is unique. My God is my God. And I share him with everybody because of what he did for me. And I tell people, like, I don't push that on nobody. I can't be like, even when I'm out there, even working my job, like, but if you give me the time to tell you my story, God is in my story, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say, mention the word God. Yeah. So.
And that, I think that's a beautiful thing because it gives us permission, right? It gives us permission to like, just even to seek, to look, to like say, maybe I can see what she's talking about, or maybe that isn't for me. And like, I think just being so authentically you and staying true to that is probably how we all should be when we're talking about anything that we love to do or are involved in, or like, you know, the work that brings us pure joy, that you know, like this, I don't do this for a title. I don't do this because of X, Y, and Z. Like, I do this because I know what I've been through and I know what works for me.
Yeah.
And that is enough testimony to say that you also deserve.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of the narrative, like, you know, you deserve more. And
Yeah.
how can you obtain it? How can you get it?
Mm-hmm.
What are the crossroads that you're looking up against that can shift that lens of like, do I want to keep going here? Or, you know, do I want to try this?
Yeah.
You know?
And I tell them, Jackie, like, try it. You know, like I said, you can always go back. You don't have to stay. And one thing, like, you know, my pastor says, like, it doesn't matter what church you go to. You could start at mine's. But if there's another one that you feel like you fit it, go, as long as you're seeking, right? And building, because in church you build community too. Like, I've got some amazing sisters in Christ that, you know, they're like my sisters, you know, like you would think they're like my blood sisters, and and they help me too, and I help them, and it's just such a beautiful thing to know you're not alone, you know, because a lot of times, and I know you've heard this, you could be in a room with 300 people and feel alone, like that could, you know, that happens, and that can still happen, but you're not alone. You are not alone, and I'm telling you, you are not alone.
So as you move into this new job, and you start to gain some confidence in the work that you're doing, and you start to do some, you know, your core work now that you're also being valued for, which I think is important, right? Because what you do is invaluable. The work and the way that you walk and give is invaluable. But you know, now you have a chance to not only make a difference, but like, you know, do it as a passion and career. So what has that walk been? How have you built up some confidence in that? And, you know, you've had some really, I think I've been able to witness some really beautiful moments in the last 2 years. So let's talk about a little bit of that and like the fruits of all of the work that you've done and all of the crossroads that you've been.
So humbling, you know, like, yeah, I've gotten awards, and you know, but when I get this award, right, I'm just like, I grabbed it, the last award, right? I grabbed it, and it's just like, I thank God, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
Even it has, the only thing, it's mine because it has my name on it. But I want that award to be seen, not because of me, but because everybody else that's struggling, that this too can be you. But Jackie, you know, I think when we started the meeting, I was talking about, even me being in this field for so long and building confidence, you know, and I really didn't feel like I belonged in those rooms. And it wasn't until we had a conversation, I don't know, about 2 years ago, probably less than 2 years, that you were like, yeah, you belong. Like, really? And I used to always see, you know, like all these ladies that I know be in these rooms getting awards. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool. But, you know, this one has a master's, this one has a doctorate. I always was like, you know, seeing like their titles, you know, and no, listen, I only have a title because that's my job, but no, that's not me. You know, I'm Yvette, right? So it wasn't until I started shifting that, because I had a conversation with you, and then I started saying, wait, you know, and then you're like, I'm gonna nominate you. And then I found the courage to ask somebody else, listen, do you think I could do this for me? And it was uncomfortable. You know, it was uncomfortable for me. And I don't know why, but I was like, so I did it. And then that night was just phenomenal. To have my family there, to have all you guys there, you know, and, you know, and God found me fit to get another one, you know, for next week. And it's like, wow. And it drives me to be more in these rooms, to be around these entrepreneurs, amazing leaders, changing lives, you know, leaving their legacy behind, because that's what I want for my children, for my grandchildren, and everybody else. Everybody else, that you too could leave a legacy, because you're a testimony.
Yeah.
Just with our testimony alone, we break barriers just with our testimony.
Yeah.
So God has been really blessing me, and it's a little overwhelming, but grateful, and I'm learning to receive it humble, and I stay humble in it, and I just want the world to see the award, not with my name, but know that you too can be there.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, resilience. It feels hard. The word is long, and it's like, oh, how do I get it? Who's your pack? Who's speaking life into you? What words are coming out of your mouth? What words are coming out of your mouth? Are you still living that? Oh, I can't. I shouldn't. Coulda. Woulda. No. Break that right now. Break that right now. Change your language. I'm learning all this. I'm learning to speak life into my children. Like, they will not be like my mother. They will not be like me. I don't want my girls to be like me. They're going to do better. Break those generational curses. My mother was divorced, then I got divorced. No, that's going to stop right now, right? I'm going to be the change, but it's because I'm doing it through God, right? For me, I'm doing it through God. And who are you connecting? Who are you surrounded by? So. Yeah. Sorry, I just get so passionate. I want to cry. I want to jump. I'm ready to run.
And that's good. That's like, and I think these, like, like I was telling you, why these conversations are coming about. Why are we, diving a little bit deeper? And it's not, we all have a story and we've come from somewhere, but like, how do we navigate when we have other things that come against, and then we start to make different choices, and we want better. We all know we want better.
Yes. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, how are we obtaining it? How are we shifting our lens, and where are we going to, like, get that, do better, see better, look, like, there's so many things that, like, it can entail, and it can be so overwhelming to feel like you're alone and you have to do it alone, but you're not, and you don't have to. And these conversations hopefully will allow people to know that we're here. We're here. We're showing different ways. Whether you've been in the projects or grew up in a mansion, it doesn't matter. Like, I think that, like, if you're struggling and you see that there, inside you want to do something different and you don't know how to obtain it, there's people out there that can show you.
I want to share real quick. I was in a room yesterday with Elizabeth Cruz, right? And she said something that impacted me. She said the reason she started this years ago was because Worcester magazine came out, and it was all American, not one either Black woman or one Hispanic woman in that magazine.
Yeah.
So she said, I need to do what I need to do to make a difference. And she said she's a computer science engineer. Is her major. And she said a lot of people, a lot of women, especially Latin women, would not like go to school and take, because those were like too hard, or they didn't feel like they could do these things. And she's surrounded by all different women. Like, my God, it's, who are you surrounding yourself with? It's so important. And this is not done. You're not done. God is not done with you. God's not done with you, Jackie. He's not. He's not. And every trial and situation you go through, thank him. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you're learning, endurance is building, and you're going to be better for the next one that comes.
That's perfect. And so you heard it here on Crossroad Conversations, right, with Ivette Monge. And I'm just, again, so grateful for these conversations. I really hope that you guys can take something out of it. Please, go listen, like, subscribe, comment, share. It helps, get these conversations out there. You never know who this can touch and whose lives can be changed. I really think that, we're used as vessels, and this is just one of the ways. So thank you.
I want to thank you. Thank you so much. And like Jackie said, share. It's not about us. It's about the testimony. It's about sharing that light and that hope. And this is how we get through. Community.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.